What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Dude Ranch DIY. My name is Jake. Today we are headed out on a little excavator job. I got home from our week-long family vacation in Cape Cod yesterday afternoon, and in about 2.5 to 3 hours we completely unloaded the truck, unpacked everything, me, Sarah, and Hayes, cleaned it out, hooked up the excavator, hooked up the trailer, greased it, chained it down. We're all ready to go for today's job. So as you can see, truck is looking nice and clean, and we got the excavator with the PR attachments, root ripper, and the 24-inch digging bucket. Now you might be saying, Jake, why aren't you using the new hook lift truck to transport the excavator and get some more practice driving and everything? Well, that's a good question. And the reasoning for that is that right before we left for Cape Cod, I ripped out the entire dashboard, if you can see that over there, because if you're not aware, these older international trucks have a issue that plagues almost all of them, where the dashboard basically just stops working or works intermittently. So I ripped out the dashboard, I sent it down to this company in Florida. They're going to redo the whole thing, add new lights, LED lights, just make it more reliable, calibrate it, and send it back to me. So I figured I would take the whole week that we were away to eat up some of the time, since I knew I would not be using the truck. So that's why we're not using that, but we're gonna fire this rig up and head out to the job. We have been to this property several times, and we're going to be doing a little more clearing to make way for some new lawn area for this customer. Okay guys, so we are here at the job. I currently have the ripper on the excavator, and it's because there's a couple rocks here he wants me to see. Just if I can pluck them out or what the deal is. This one we'll be able to get. Easy. 1, 2, 3. I told him, I was like, you really don't know with these rocks. It's really hard to say whether or not I'll be able to pull them out until you really try. Where I put those other ones that time? Yeah. Now, you guys might remember this whole area that I'm driving through right now, I actually cleared for this customer last year. And he planted grass. I actually went ahead and stacked all these other rocks where you see them over here. That one I think is going to take a little bit more. You want me to pull it? Big rock. The rest is back there, right? The other side? Yeah. All right, guys, so here's the property. This is Edgar. He's grown up a little bit since the first time we were here. He was a puppy when we first came. And yeah, here's Mac. We took down the big oak tree with the grapple saw here a couple months back in the beginning of the summer. And basically, we're going to be clearing out this whole area in the back here, similar to what we did on the side of his house last fall. So as you can see, that turned out pretty good. He got some grass growing all in that area. It was this whole hillside area that we dug up and scraped. And now we're gonna do this back area. So a lot of forsythia and just vines and stuff. It shouldn't really amount to much brushy material like the first section did. So for this, he has an area back here where he's just been putting, you know, grass clippings, leaves and stuff. So we're basically gonna dig a big hole and just bury all of this stuff in the hole. That way we don't have to haul it away and, you know, deal with all that stuff. Because at the end of the day, this is just gonna be lawn and nothing heavy is gonna be driving over it. So that's the game plan. Here we go. I always forget to take before and after pictures. Not today. I don't have any before and after pictures of my jobs, just videos.
I don't do any of the projects I do in my own house, so I hear you.
That's why I film everything. So I'll have record of it at some point. Show my son.
There we go.
Would be really nice for a job like this, but I don't have a rake. So until I get a rake from PR Attachments, the makers of that root rake or the root ripper, I'm just gonna keep using my tooth bucket here and just float it over the surface and get out all this pachysandra and little shrub brush and stuff like that. It works really well as a rake. I mean, it's not a rake. You'd probably get a lot less dirt if you had an actual rake, but you know, it gets the job done. And you can dig with it, which is nice. So we're just gonna keep going and pulling stuff back. And my goal here is to just make a couple, you know, decent sized piles and pull them back with me as I go. And then once we get big enough, we'll start making a new pile. But if I can move the pile with me, then it'll save me a lot of time having to move the pile later. The nice thing too about doing it this way is every time you move that brush, it just knocks a little more dirt off. So really by the end, a lot of the dirt will have been knocked off. All right, well, we've been at it about an hour and we've gotten, I'd say, about half of it cleared out. A lot of this was the pachysandra and stuff, so there's a lot more dirt. Over here is a lot of the forsythia and vines and stuff, so I'm thinking there's gonna be a lot less dirt because we'll just be able to pluck you know, the balls of the roots and stuff of these bushes out. We got a stump right here, so we're gonna get into these bushes here, and then we're gonna have to start digging some holes to bury, you know, all this debris and sift out the dirt. But so far, so good. All right, guys, well, we pretty much got everything ripped out that needed to be ripped out, and we are in this back corner here where I'm going to start digging the first hole. The homeowner wants to kind of leave, I don't know if you can see the white flags, but have the area be kind of, you know, concave like that, like a sweeping curve there. So we're gonna put the hole with all the debris, or at least one of the holes with all the debris, right there in that back edge corner, kind of in between these two trees. So I'm gonna start digging, and then we got a lot of brush to bury and compact. We got a pretty decent sized hole here now. Hoping to bury this pile of brush right here, and we'll kind of backfill it in lifts. That way he gets a little less compaction, or settling, I guess you should say. well. The first pile is buried and gone. Leveled it all out, rough graded. Now the agreement here, I'm not getting this to like final grade or anything like prepped for seed. I'm just here to clear it and rough grade it out. And he will do the rest similar to the other area that we worked on last year. But yeah, that hole was the perfect size. You know, try and keep into account that the brush, you know, definitely compacts down a lot smaller than when it's just sitting there in a pile. So you got to keep that in mind. And then you want plenty of dirt so that the grade's a little bit higher, because it will compress down through rain and stuff like that, and, you know, decomposition stuff. So we will run over this one more time when we do the rough grade with the blade, but we got 2 more piles to bury, so that means we got another hole to dig. Then we got a rotten stump over here and a small stump over there. I might just try my luck at this small stump with the bucket for right now while it's on, but this one I think we're gonna need the ripper. All right, we were able to get that stump out over there. As you can see, I got it in the thumb to the machine here. It had a super long taproot on it. I don't know if you could see how deep down that went. That's why I was having trouble getting it out at the end there. So we're gonna bury that puppy. We got this little pile and that slightly larger pile over here. So I think I'm gonna dig a nice big hole right in here, and we can throw the debris from each pile into the middle of it. All right, guys, this is the final product here. As we were cleaning up, I found another small stump over there that was like a bunch of little suckers. Looks like the tree had been cut a while ago, but it was suckering out, so I ripped that out. Got the little area behind this oak tree here graded out, you know, just very roughly over here. Again, it looks a little high over there because it is, because that's where I dug that hole. So I want that all to settle, but I drove the excavator over it several times. Mac, the homeowner, has been out here going by hand with snips and a steel rake and a wheelbarrow, filling in little holes from rocks that I had dug out and just snipping all the big roots and stuff that, you know, were left behind that got broken. But I know the area we worked on doesn't look like much right now, but we did the same thing here last fall, and he's got a nice thick lawn, even with all these trees. So he did a really good job on the final prep work. So I anticipate that this will look, you know, very similar to this by next year, or even in a month or two at the end of the grass growing season. All loaded up. Got the ripper in the back here, and that's gonna be that. As always, guys, hope you enjoyed this quick little video. This was a fun little job. Like I said, just got back from Cape Cod on our week-long vacation last night. So I just wanted to kind of dip my toes into the water with a nice easy one, something I can just kind of come bang out on my own. And that's what we did. We got a happy homeowner, and hopefully his grass comes in nice and thick because we're getting it done nice and early. So as always, guys, if you like the video, give it a big thumbs up. Questions, comments, feedback, throw it in that comment section. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. But for now, I'm Jake. This is Dude Ranch DIY. Thanks so much for watching. See you here next time.